Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for WLBT Plus. My name is Kara Shirley. I'm your digital news desk host, and it is Wednesday, April the 23rd. And yesterday, Democratic primary, or not just Democratic primary, but let me get this straight. It was the runoff elections for several different races on yesterday. A lot of races throughout our area, throughout the community, and we're going to be breaking down those numbers for you in just a little bit, especially looking at the voter turnout here for the city of Jackson, what it is, what it was yesterday compared to what it was for the primary election, and then also comparing it to what it was for the past six elections, which going back to 2019, we're including the special election that happened in 2014. So we're going to be breaking down those numbers for you and kind of letting you, the citizens of Jackson, know how you did as far as a voter turnout, and hopefully showing you guys some numbers that maybe you can look at ways to make the numbers better if you feel like they need to be better when the general election rolls around in June. So again, we're going to be looking at all of that in just a moment. Real quick before we do that, give you an update on some news stories that have happened overnight and today. And before we get into all of that, let's take a look outside over the capital city here in downtown Jackson. Let me get to the right page. Here we go. It's pretty cloudy out there. We are expecting some more rain chances today and tomorrow and even into Friday. We're going to be looking at that forecast in a little bit, but it is still quite beautiful out there, even with the cloudy skies. So looking forward to next week because the rain chances are going to be cutting off next week. We'll have more sunshine next week. If you're tuning in on our website or on our mobile app, thank you so much for watching. And if you're tuning in on any of our social streams, appreciate you watching there as well. Go ahead and leave in the comment section. Let me know where you are watching from and if you voted yesterday. Did you have a race to go vote in? And if you did you make it out to the polls? Well, let's go ahead, jump into the news right now. We're going to talk about a situation that happened in Canton last night. It was a deadly shooting that happened at an apartment complex. So there was a huge police presence at the Canton Estates apartment complex last night. We have exclusive video here from the scene, exclusive for 3 on Your Side. And several Canton police and Madison County deputies were there on the scene investigating what does appear to be a shooting. Witnesses say that one person was shot and killed. 3 on Your Side did spot the coroner on the scene as well as several shell casings on the ground. We also saw what appeared to be family members emotional there at the scene, which is understandably so if someone did end up losing their life. So 3 on Your Side spoke with one man who knew the family of the person that was allegedly killed. And here's what they had to say.
My sadness over this homicide tonight is tempered with the hope and with the expectation that new elections bring. And so I'm asking that the new administration do everything that they can do, and I believe and I trust that they will do everything that they can do to make this a safer town. I think that safety should be our number one priority, and from there, all other good things may flow.
So we have reached out to the Canton Police Department for more information about this alleged incident. And as soon as we get an update from them, we will pass that along to you guys. And then also there was a house fire last night in Braxton. Fire crews, let me turn that down for you guys. So fire crews responded to the house fire overnight. It happened just before 2 o'clock this morning, and that was at a home that was off Highway 49 South. So when 3 on Your Side arrived there at the scene, most of the fire had been put out. We don't have any word yet on what caused the fire or if there was any injured, but we will continue to keep you updated. Looking here in our Facebook comments, we have Carrie Jordan joining us and tuning in from Greenville. Hello. Thank you so much for watching. Was there an election last night in your area? I feel like I should be able to pinpoint Greenville on the map, but quite honestly, geography was never my strong suit in school. So let me know, was there an election? Did you go out and vote? Anybody else that's watching, where are you watching from? And did you have an election to vote in yesterday? And did you make it out there to the polls? Let's talk about the city council. Jackson City Council voted yesterday against a water rate increase for Jackson Water. They actually voted unanimously against the rate increase. However, the vote is largely a symbolic vote. Jackson Water could still raise the rates on the water services. So Council President Virgie Lindsay described the increase as being excessive, too much, and more than our citizens should be asked to bear. Interim third-party manager Ted Hennepin is proposing raising water rates for the second time since 2023, he says, to help shore up finances as some federal assistance runs out. We also did receive a statement from Jackson Water. And here's what they had to say. In part, no one wants to ask residents to pay more, but the proposed rate adjustment is not just necessary, it's responsible. It's grounded in real operational cost, not politics, and it's the only way to sustain safe, reliable water services in the Jackson. So again, this is something that we're going to continue to follow. We will bring you updates if the rates do increase. As we said, it is a largely symbolic vote by the city council because there are certain mechanisms in place to where Ted Hennepin or Jackson Water can raise the rates. But there are different things that have to be put into motion for that to happen. You can check out the full story on our website, wlbt.com, and it'll break down all of the details for you on that. And we also went to talked to the city of Madison yesterday. There is a development happening in the city of Madison and Bellemare. So it's something for both adults and children to enjoy there in Madison. Let me get my correct video here. I'm sorry. So the gallery is a new arts and entertainment district that's going to be happening there. It's going to be located at the corner of I-55 and Main Street in Madison. I want to take this video full screen for you guys so you can see it a little better. And I'm going to restart it. There we go. Bellemare Development now owns the 70 acres of wooded land that is on the interstate. And the group said they're going to be begin clearing the first 17.5 acres of this property this fall, which will be home to a new Spinners location, offices, a restaurant, and other shops.
Spinners is a wonderful a group that they started in Cleveland, Mississippi, started with just a bowling alley, moved to Florence, Mississippi, have a wonderful operation with bowling, skating, arcade, all of which are going to come to Madison. We have a few very special parts of this building. It's the size of a football field, so we have a lot of room to add a lot of value to the quality of life of all the children in this area.
So this development is completely privately funded and will cost roughly $60 million. Shovels are expected to hit the dirt this fall, and Spinners is expected to be open by fall of 2026. So that's an exciting new development happening there in Madison, in the Madison area. Before we jump into the numbers from last night's election, let's hear from our sponsors at Jackson Water.
Time for a neighborly tip from Jackson Water. Is it okay to pour fats, oils, and greases down the drain if I run hot water?
No!
What if I run the garbage disposal?
No!
How about if I use dish soap at the same time?
No!
Instead, hang on to a few containers to store and toss old cooking fat and grease once you're done. Jackson Water. Water for all the time.
And again, thanks to Jackson Water. Excuse me. I got a catch in my throat. Thank them for sponsoring WLBT Plus. We do appreciate them, and they help us to be able to continue to bring you content like this. Let's look at our weather real quick. look at the current temperatures outside here in our area, you can see we're sitting much like we were yesterday around this time in the upper 70s, low 80s around the area. And if we look at our current radar, you see there are spots of rain across our viewing area because rain is in the forecast. It is going to be hit or miss. You could see some rain today, you could not. But as you can see here on the radar, there is spots of heavy showers all across the area. We look over the next 12 hours, keeping those rain chances up as we go into the overnight hours, dropping down into the mid 60s, but we are still looking at a 20% chance of rain overnight. And our next 7 days, 40% for the rest of the week in the mid 80s. But this weekend, it looks to be a little bit better, a little more sunshine, less chance of rain, and a good opportunity to get outside and have some fun because I know there's a lot of cool things happening this weekend in our surrounding communities. And of course, as we get to Monday, looking at a high of 90, 0% chance of rain. But to get the best and full details of our forecast, you want to be here at 2:30 for our first alert weather team. They'll give you that in-depth look and let you know, should you expect anything severe out of the rain chances that we have, or is it just going to be scattered showers? 2:30 today is when you'll find out from our first alert weather team. Well, let's go ahead and jump into election information. I know you guys are familiar with it. I know you've probably heard it. You know that last night in the Democratic runoff election that John Horn did win. He won by a landslide, really. He won 75% of the vote. He got 17,729 votes versus incumbent Mayor Chokwe Lumumba receiving 5,940 votes at 25%. So hundreds of supporters did go out and welcome the longtime state senator, including his father, last night. Let me get that video pulled up for you guys and make sure I know it's loud. So hold on a second. They were having a party for sure. So that is Senator John Horn there with his father. So they were there making their way to the stage with Horn's wife and family following him. The legislator ran on a platform promising change and vowing to keep Jackson from losing its assets like the airport and Smith Wills Stadium to state interest. And here is what else he had to say last night during his election party.
We won the primary with 49% of the votes. And tonight, last time I looked, it was about 70%, 75%. So the people of Jackson are saying that they want change. They want better leadership. They want better streets. Less potholes. They want less crime, more opportunity, better jobs. But they want more than anything else, they want to bring our city together. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being a part of bringing our city together.
So Horn will now face Republican challengers, and the Republican challengers in the race are Kenny G. Well, actually, he'll face off against Kenny G., who received 97 votes last night in the Republican runoff race, 63% of the vote, versus Wilford Beal, who received 37% of the vote. So in the general elections in June, John Horn will now face Kenny G. as a Republican candidate, and then we have 3 independent candidates. We have Zach Service, we have Kim Wade, and then also Rodney DePriest. So those are the 3 independents that you will see on the ballot and probably hearing a lot more from between now and June when the election happens. I believe it's June the 3rd, but I could be wrong. So don't hold me to that, but that's what I believe that it is. But that is the 5 candidates that we will see here in Jackson on the ballot for mayor, which they will be sworn in at the beginning of July, whoever the winner is. A lot of people are, a lot of times in things like this, people will think, oh, well, the Democratic ticket is automatically going to get it. There, John Horn will automatically go on to be the mayor. But we still have that general election to go to. We still have to get through those votes. And we do have 3 other candidates who you have not yet voted for that you could place your vote for, should you so desire to. But again, that's going to be 5 people on the mayoral ballot for the city of Jackson in June when the general election happens. Now, we did also have a runoff election for Ward 6 for the Democratic, and that went between Lashia Brown Thomas and Amon Thompson Sr. Lashia Brown Thomas did receive 53% of the vote, so she will go on to the general election. Well, let me take that back. Says here for this one, we had 92% of the vote reporting at this time. So there could be a change in that. We have not yet called a winner in this race. Then for Ward 7, Kevin Parkinson is the winner in that race. He will go on to the general election. He won against Quint Withers, who received 47% of the vote. So those are the 2 that are the 2 ward races for Jackson that were in the runoff elections last night. So let's talk about the voting numbers history here in Jackson. As I did quickly do the math, thank you to CJ Lemaster as well as Anthony Warren for helping me pull up these numbers and get this information to be able to bring it to you guys. We're going all the way back to 2009, and I know I'm going to be throwing a lot of numbers at you. I'm going to put the information up on the screen, but that's just so you can read it in case you're missing any of the numbers. It's not as pretty as what we would normally like it to be, but this was a quickly done thing today. So really it's just kind of screenshots of my my Excel spreadsheet. But here are the numbers that we have so far. So in 2009, the Jackson population was at just over 176,000 people. There was 4 main people in the primary election that happened. That was Harvey Johnson, Marshawn Chrysler, Frank Melton, who was the incumbent, and then John Horn. This was the first time that John Horn ran for mayor of Jackson. So there were a total amount of 33,800 voters that turned out for the primary, which is about 19% of the population of Jackson. I don't have for 2009 the amount of registered voters. That's why I'm just giving you population numbers for this one. I do have registered voters for the current election that we just had. This election in 2009 went on to a runoff between Harvey Johnson and Marshawn Chrysler, where Harvey Johnson took the win. And then in that primary, that runoff election, 18% of the population voted in that. Then we go to 2013, where there was in the primary, the top 3 vote getters, Jonathan Lee, Chokwe Lumumba, which is the father of our current mayor, and then Harvey Johnson, who was the incumbent. Chokwe and Jonathan Lee went on to the primary election in which Chokwe won. But you can see where the population number had actually gone down from the previous election, but the percentage of people based off the population who voted was about the same. And actually in this runoff again, we had more people turn out to vote than they did in the primary, which is on a national level. If you look at national elections, that is very uncommon to have more people in the runoff election come out and vote than they do in the primary. Normally it's the other way around. There's more people in the primary and it drastically drops off if there happens to be a runoff. So for that one, it was nice to see that there was more people that got out and voted for the primary election. If we move on to 2014, this was a special election because this was when Chokwe Lumumba, the father, passed away. And so they had to have the special election. This is where we see Chokwe Antar Lumumba entering the scene. And he ran against Tony Yarborough in the primary election. There was a lot of people on the ballot for the special election, but these were the two top vote getters. And then he lost in the runoff to Tony Yarborough there. 22% of the population voted in the runoff election there. 2017 and 2021 is when Chokwe won he won 2017, won again in 2021. And you can see our population numbers for Jackson going down as well. And this is the year, 2021, of course, we're looking at post-COVID numbers too. There was still a lot of hesitation about getting out during that time period, which caused the voting numbers to drop just really across the board. But Chokwe did win those two elections, which is how he has been in office for the past 8 years. And then coming to our election numbers for yesterday, how did the voters in the city of Jackson do yesterday for primary and for runoff? Actually, we got both of it here for you. So our population here in Jackson is approximately 137,000 people. That is what when we looked up the numbers, this is approximately what we have. And then we have 114,000 registered voters here in the city of Jackson. That number came from the Hinds County Circuit Clerk, and that was as of April the 1st, that the numbers were 114,000 registered voters, or just over that. So as we all know, in the primary election, our top three contenders for the votes were John Horn, Chokwe Antar Lumumba, the incumbent, and then Tim Henderson, which led to the runoff that we had yesterday. You can see in the primary election, approximately 23% of registered voters got out and voted. 19% of the population approximately, but only 23% of registered voters got out and voted in the primary. And if we look at the runoff that we had yesterday, you can see where, of course, by a landslide, John Horn won the Democratic runoff. I'm getting myself messed up here. John Horn won the Democratic runoff with 17,000 votes. But the big thing here is looking at, of course, the number of voters that got out. 21% of registered voters that got out and voted yesterday in the runoff election, which is still really good numbers. It did not drop. A lot of times people will expect those numbers to drop in the runoff, and they didn't. So as far as looking at numbers like that, when you look at how many showed up for primary versus how many showed up for the runoffs, Jackson has a really good track record of keeping either just right at the same amount of voters or having more voters come out for the runoff election based off of the numbers that I have here going back to 2009. That is great. But when we look at the percentage of voters who got out and voted versus the amount of registered voters that are here in the city of Jackson, that number is sad. It's sad to see that even if we just go to the primary, only 23% of registered voters got out and voted. So hopefully one thing we can expect to see is that number increase substantially in June, because voting is our right as an American citizen, is one of the ways that we get out and we have our voice heard. And the voice was heard clearly in the numbers and the totals and the landslide victory for John Horn. People's voice was heard, but more people have voices to speak and more people are registered to vote, and they need to get out there to the polls in June. I also want to point out the total vote numbers. It was not just for the Democratic tickets. It was the total all-encompassing amount of votes that came in. So even if there was a Republican ticket or anything like that, we had the total amount of votes in these calculations. I apologize again for throwing a lot of numbers at you, but I just wanted to give you guys a clear history, a clear look at the history of the residents of Jackson getting out and voting from the past 6 elections, including the special election that was held in 2014. And I think we could do better. But then we always can do better. But I think we can get out and have more people, even more people, show up at the polls in the general election, which happens. I mean, that is typical. You got the big election, more people are going to turn out. But I would love to see the city of Jackson just blow these numbers out of the water. I would love to be able to report that in June after the general election. So you guys help me out by getting out and vote. Whoever you're voting for, get out and vote, because that's your right. That is your right as a citizen of the United States. So make sure you get out there and let your voice be heard. Not only did Jackson speak last night, but people over in Canton spoke as well. There was a runoff election for the mayor's Democratic mayor ticket over there. It was a very, very tight race, but you can see here the winner was Tim Taylor. He received 51% of the vote, where Camilla Walker received 49% of the vote. It was a very narrow victory, but it was a victory nonetheless. So Tim Taylor says that his civic experience is what set him apart from his opponent. He said he's been vocal for 5 years in the city's board meetings. We were there last night and we got his reaction to his win.
And because of our hard work and our due diligence and our resilience and our relentlessness, we're victors tonight. It's not just Tim Taylor, it's Team Tim Taylor. We did this.
So Taylor does say that if he is elected mayor, he plans to revitalize the city of Canton's police department by providing them with the resources they need to police and tackle crime in the city. He will go on to the general election, where there is a Republican candidate, Chris Matthews. I believe I'm saying his name correctly, but he will be running against him in the mayoral race for the city of Canton. Again, general election in June. Then there was for Canton the alderman race that happened as well. We have those numbers pulled up for you here. So for the Democratic ticket for Canton in Ward 4, Cynthia Allen won that by 52%, beating out Marquis Blunt at 48%. That is again Ward 4. And in Ward 5, Janice Diamond beat out Laura Blair with 215 votes versus the 199 for her opponent. And in Belzoni, of course, there was a runoff for the Democratic ticket. It was one of the little smaller towns in our area, but the Eula Davis was challenging the current mayor, Joe Jackson, for that post, and she won. She is the right now unofficial winner with 61% of the vote to Jackson's 39% of the vote. So it looks like another incumbent mayor in our area also was defeated in the runoff elections. If you want to see all of the numbers, everything, because there's still some numbers that we are updating that we're waiting to get all of the results in. But if you want to see all that, you can go to our website at wlbt.com and pull it up for you here. You'll be able to see all of the numbers here. Now, my whole screen isn't being shown here. I think it is when I do this way. Maybe not. Okay, so if you go to our website at wlbt.com, you can click on the election results and you will be able to see all of the results from Jackson to Canton to Morton. There was a election held over in Morton as well. We have Durant, Magnolia, all of the smaller communities in our area, not just the numbers just for Jackson or for Canton, but all of the smaller communities. You'll be able to find those numbers on our website. And remember, we are still updating. We're still waiting to get some numbers in from some communities. So as soon as we get those in, we'll update the website and you'll be able to see those results there. I threw a lot of numbers out there at you today, but that's what comes with elections. There's a lot of numbers that get thrown around. So thanks for sticking with me. If you did, be here at 2:30 today where our first alert weather team will be here to give you a look at your forecast. And then I will be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock here on WLBT Plus. I do hope to see you then. If you get caught in a little rain shower, stay safe out there. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.